Hey guys, this is my recap for Game 12 of the World Chess Championship between Ding and Gukesh. And Ding has the white pieces and he bounces back, as you probably know. So he plays c4, the English, we get e6, we get g3, we get d5, we get bishop g2, a bunch of theoretical moves, we get d4, or no, we don't get d4. Ding is just trying to prevent himself from playing committal moves for as long as he can. So he plays knight f3, and then we get d4, we get castles, and still quite a bit of games here. We get knight c6, we get e3, very odd structure, a bit of an imbalance. We get bishop e7, we get d3, we get takes, we get bishop takes. All this should probably be prep, but Ding already spent some time on some moves. So he probably was out of prep after, I would say, after knight c6. Yeah, I guess knight c6 he's probably out of prep, perhaps. Like his main prep. You might have looked at this before, but you know, you just start looking at moves at this point. So bishop, or at least for Ding, because he's not in his prep. We get bishop e7. We get d3. We get takes, and then we get e5. So Gukesh seems to be well in his prep. He's barely spent any time in the opening. Only 3 minutes already. We're almost on move 10. Knight c3 from Ding. We get castles. We get rook e1. We get h6, and then we get a3. a3 was like the top move of the engine, so it's a really good move. I could have been preparing before, so we get a5 preventing it. It's a logical move. We get h3. Ding just improving his position. We get bishop e6. King h2 really quick from Ding, which is good. He just needs to play improving moves quickly, as he's already low on time. Not super low, but he's already getting low. We get queen c2, good move. There were like every queen move was like one of the top engine moves, so either one's fine. Knight d4 preventing d4 from white would have been a good option for Gukesh, but he just wanted to try to play solid, so he plays rook e8. We get knight b5, and now because he didn't go for this knight d4 idea, earlier like this rook b8 was a bit committal as well, because now this rook's really passive after the knight went to b5. Like this rook isn't doing anything, and then Gukesh does find the way to keep the balance with bishop f5. But as we'll see in the game, after rook d1, black has a really tough position to defend. So, yeah, like, just like, now you gotta pretty much play like an engine to keep the balance, basically. So we get knight d7, a bit of an accuracy. And the thing you'll see in this game is that Ding just keeps improving his position. So now he's playing queen d2, getting off this diagonal. So like the moves are kind of easy for Ding. Like the bishop went here, so now Ding's gonna want to slide the queen off. If the queen went to c3, there was bishop f6, so just go to d2. And this was the top move by the engine. So like there's only the one move that really, or two main moves that keep the balance, which is a4 and knight c5. And you know, it's not even really say balance, but it basically fights for the draw. But instead we get bishop g6, because in this line here with knight c5, d4, knight d3, in the line, white's sacrificing the rook for a positional advantage, right? And it makes sense. You're up a pawn, you do get a pawn for the rook, and these knights are extremely strong. So are these bishops, and pawns are good. This rook is passive. Yeah, white's position is just really good. But that's probably why Gukesh didn't go for it. or he saw something else that he wasn't sure about. So instead we get bishop g6. I don't really know exactly what like this move avoids. I'm sure like I obviously don't know because I'm not a grandmaster or anything, but I guess it's just like an improving the piece kind of move. There's probably some lines where the bishop gets hit. So we get d4, we get e4. Bishop has to go back. I mean, you could go for this crazy line where you take and takes, but might as well just go back. Ding has around like a +1 advantage now. And so Gukesh is pretty much losing at this point, almost. When it's +1 for engine, it's usually like 50% winning chance in these positions for like engine play. But +1 is pretty much a winning advantage in most games. If a +1 is getting higher, that means it's probably winning. And if it's getting lower, it's a draw still with perfect play, right? With just nearly perfect play. So we get knight b6. Best move was like bishop f1. This is like a computer move, but basic idea is just defending this pawn as it's hit and improving the bishop as this pawn is now in the way. Although like sometimes you might wonder if like the f3 square could be like a knight could get in there or something, or a bishop. So you don't want to move the bishop. So queen c3 is actually a really good move still and logical, just defending the pawn. But after bishop f6, you start thinking about moving the queen again, and I believe that's what Ding does. He goes queen c2, and with this move, like say if Gukesh just goes back, there's d5, and all of Ding's pieces are in the right squares. So, yeah, Gukesh's position is just really rough now. We get a4, good move. We get knight e2, the absolute best move from Ding. After bishop g5, this position is already like around +3. It's completely lost. And knight f4 is like pretty much the only one move, and Ding plays it. And there's some complicated lines that you have to figure it out, like with e3, but they're not working. Like after e3, you can go queen e2 simply, and after it takes, you just take. And white's position is still really good because of this weakness on c7. So we get takes, and we get rook c8, and black's trying to hold on, just barely, but it's still extremely passive. So now that the dark square bishop is traded off, Ding can just go on c3, and now there's never any e3 ideas. So Gukesh's position is really rough. And Gukesh plays knight b8. I'm not sure what the actual idea is, but Ding could just win this rook with knight a7, but maybe that would allow like complications. So Ding just keeps his strong pieces and position and just goes d5. After queen d7, which is a bit inaccurate, this kind of would have allowed a bit counterplay with knight a7, but or knight a6. It's a bunch of engine lines, but after queen d7, we get d6, threatening to take and being one square from promotion, and it's defended by a bishop and knight, so this is just completely lost. After c5, we get knight c7 hitting the rook. The rook moves, and then we just get takes, just winning some material. And after the knight goes back to c6, Ding just goes back. Ding just playing extremely solid, not going into complications, winning a pawn, getting a good knight on a good square, getting a good pawn defended by a bishop and a rook. So we get rook d8, knight d5, takes, doubled pawns, but they're both defended by a bishop, so really strong pawns. We get knight b8, which is odd. I don't know why he didn't play knight d4. I mean, I guess there's still takes, but the knight's just so passive on that square. So after queen takes c5, we get rook c8, get queen d4, staying solid. Both pawns are defended, so we get rook e7. Queen moves out of the way. We get d7. Rook hits the queen. There was a desperado of takes, and rook here, and there's just nothing you can do to stop promotion. Like, let's say here, there's no this because of the pawn, and if here, I believe, yeah, you just take with the bishop. I didn't even see that, but yeah. Yeah, so there's nothing. You can't go here. You can't, there's no way. The queen can't go to these squares. So it's just completely over. So instead, we just get, again, solid moves from Ding because, as you can see, he's low on time. So it goes bishop e3. We get rook c2. He's looking for some kind of counterplay because that's all he can really go for. But Ding thinks for a bit. It's a bit nerve-wracking because he still has like 3 moves to make his time control, I think. But he goes bishop d6, threatening ideas of here and takes with the bishop. Because in other lines, if he would go here, there's takes, and then you're not winning anything. But here, let's say king h7, there's this, and after takes, there's bishop takes. And this is completely lost. So after bishop d6, we get f6, and Ding finds the winning move of going for the king. With takes, promotion, and winning the game. As you have 2 queens on the board, you'll be able to checkmate the king. And yeah, after, I believe, this possession, Gukesh resigns. And so that was the game. I mean, it was an amazing game to watch. I didn't watch game 11 live, but I was able to watch this game live, and luckily I did get to see Ding win. So, I mean, I wasn't really expecting him to bounce back, but he got a really good position from the opening, like a really complicated position, a fresh position. So, yeah, it's an exciting match. We'll see what happens. We have 2 more games. And yeah, that's going to do for my recap. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.